Hello, and welcome to Power ED, a Chat State podcast. I'm your host, Andy Burns, and I'm thrilled to have you join us on this enlightened journey. Here at Chattanooga State Community College, we're not just about lectures and textbooks. We're about people, our inspiring employees who are dedicated to empowering our students and our community. We'll explore our community members' unique paths, discover what drives their passion for education, and uncover the incredible impact they're making both inside and outside the classroom. So whether you're a current student, fellow colleague, alumni, or just curious about what makes Chat State so special, you come to the right place. Get ready to be inspired, to learn, and to truly feel empowered. So today is a very good podcast because we are with a person that I think is unanimous throughout our CTL that we really enjoy conversations. So I'll let her introduce herself. How you doing?
Hi, Andy. I'm Angela McClister.
Okay.
I'm over here in Media Technologies, and that's my department.
Yeah.
And we're under the Business and Industry Division
Okay.
as far as academics go. So, yeah, that's me.
So I got to ask you a couple of questions, and I think one of the biggest things, or one of the most normal questions we ask is, what brought you to Chat State, specifically Chattanooga, and then Chattanooga State?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Tall tale Betty. Yeah, you better be ready. What brought me to Chattanooga was a contract with
Okay.
News Channel 9. I chose Chattanooga because it's one part of the state I had not lived in before.
Yeah.
And I'd always heard great things. Everybody that I'd ever met from Chattanooga had significant pride in the community. And so that's what brought me to Chattanooga.
Okay.
I signed a contract and moved into an apartment in downtown.
Whoa.
And then from there, after a few years in my news career, I moved into working at PBS.
Yeah.
As a producer with WTCI.
Whoa.
And I was with them for 5 years. And during my time there, I got to launch the internship program. I did a lot of research with Department of Labor and how internship programs work and criteria that was needed and necessary. I looked at different institutions and what they were looking at, whether it was the UT system, the private, Sewanee, Lee, those academic programs, the expectation of what they needed as far as criteria for a student to come through. But yeah, that's what brought me to Chattanooga State, I guess you could say.
One of the things we love about you is your personality is so infectious, right? So were you ever on-air talent at any point? Really?
Yes, sir, I was.
What was that like?
Believe it or not, I am naturally an introvert. So it was exhausting and frustrating and very hard. It was one of the harder things for me to do. It was to put myself out there and be face forward on camera.
Yeah.
I like meeting people. I like telling stories. I love writing. I love research. But being a face, fronting. One of my early jobs in my news career was as an anchor. And your credibility is, you're the one that's fronting this, and all these stories. I had a hard time with that,
Really?
I just, not to be a control freak, but I wanted to know that a fact is a fact. The truth is the truth. This is not skewed.
Yeah.
And that, I'm giving the truth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was hard. Being on camera wasn't necessarily something that came natural to me.
Really? And so I understand the concept, right? If it's your face that the people are seeing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It should be you that kind of, authenticates that information. So researcher by nature, correct? Or was it a part of your major? Like, what college did you go to, and how did you pick this major? How did you know that this was for you?
I actually started at University of Arkansas in Fayetteville.
Okay.
And from the time I was walking, people called me Little Connie Chung.
No way.
And I just idolized her and thought the world of her, and wanted to have a strong, credible journalism career.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, one day I was going through a book about colleges, and I ran across MTSU in the listing, and it said it was a CNN affiliate. And at random, I got in my car and I drove all the way from Fayetteville, Arkansas, all the way to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and I took the exit that would take you off to Shelbyville, got a hotel, and then I wandered over to the college, and they were doing tours, summer tours, orientation type tours, and I picked up a name tag that said Ryan. I'm sorry, Ryan. And I hopped on this tour and walked around, and then I fell off the tour and stayed in the Mass Comm building where I met a guy named Dr. O'Neill,
Okay.
who turns out started the broadcast program at University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. And it was chill bumps all over the body,
Yeah.
serendipitous. And I literally walked over to a COPE administration building, filled out my paperwork, added my FAFSA to their file, went back, helped with sorority rush, packed my car, and drove over. Didn't even have a dorm assigned to me like the first 4 days.
So you came off the tour and immediately enrolled?
Yes.
Wow.
I immediately transferred after talking to Dr. O'Neill. And 4 days, slept in my car, took showers in the rec center until I was assigned a dorm room, and was in it, just full force.
Okay, so self-proclaimed introvert. For us that are sitting on the outside, to do something like that is extremely bold.
But I had a goal, and I saw an opportunity that was stronger and better than where I was at. It wasn't, Dr. O'Neill didn't say you can stand a chance as a weather girl.
Right.
He's like, this program's what you make of it. You come here, you can make it anything you want it to be. You just got to put yourself out there. And, I've even told students that, it doesn't matter where you go to school.
Yeah.
It's what you invest in your education.
Yeah.
And MTSU gave me that opportunity.
And to know that you do these bold and empowering things, and how you present that to students, it's almost like you give them a life lesson before you give them education. So now you're you're in the program, and by nature, research is your thing. So how do you kind of morph into wanting to be a professor and teaching? Like, did you feel like you have something to give, or what was that catalyst to say, you know what, this is kind of where I need to be?
When an opening came here, I was encouraged by a friend to apply.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll never get that. I mean, I'm not smart enough for that. I don't know. Who would want to listen to me in front of a classroom? And so when I interviewed, I had to actually teach a lesson.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like for some reason they chose me. They said I connected really well.
I can see that.
And I mean, it's been a blessing, an honor. I found myself probably my first couple of weeks in a classroom. I remember getting so anxious because there were some students that would Google something and then they'd ask me a question, to test me.
Yeah. I already know that's not a good thing to do.
And I'm like, wow, I'm not Google, and I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It was soul crushing, and humbling. And so I found myself hiding behind monitors, and when I got really nervous, I would just flat out read, because And I would type up my lectures and everything because I would get so nervous. And then I finally found my footing. You know, I get nervous in other classrooms too.
Really?
But in my classroom that I'm used to,
Yeah.
I'm at ease and confident.
Okay.
I've just kind of found my
Okay.
spot,
Yeah.
my groove.
Yeah. I like the way you will things. You know, you believe that it happens, and you just go with it, and you don't retreat from a moment. You know what I mean? That's cool. That's really cool. You showed me something, an article back in the 1900s, and and I'm gonna tell you why it freaks me out so much. I was always interested in the articles and how they looked, but I never felt or seen one from a period. And when you showed me this article, it was amazingly detailed, and I automatically needed to know. So I started reading it as you were showing it to me. Could you explain to me about that, like the article and how you got into it and that whole nine?
You're referring to an old copy of a Harper's Weekly from the 1800s, Civil War era. And I had a student that had graduated and was working and came across it and brought it back to me as a gift. And, you know, it is a really amazing, like, you can feel the way it was printed and, like, the style of writing and what they chose to report on to share with the community was significantly different from how we approach news now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not only is it something cool for students to lay their hands on, but to also to read, to consider the vantage point, what's included, what's not included. I mean, that thing was packed.
Yeah.
And it is packed. I still have it in my office in archival paper or whatever, even though I bring it out in class and have students run their hands over it and stuff. But I think it's really fascinating to have something like that. They talk about it in a couple of my textbooks, historically speaking. Yeah. But to have something of substance that they can lay their hands on, see, feel, and realize, you know, how we've grown and how we've changed as in communication, in media, as consumers of information, how that stuff gets to us too, you know, whether it's pass along, you know, back in revolutionary times, it was pass along, you know, maybe 5 pamphlets of the same thing would be printed and they had to read them in secret. If they could read. And so they would gather by candlelight, you know, and the reader would read and share this information, and then it was passed along to the next town, you know, kind of that Paul Revere, you know. And then we've got wagons delivering mail, then somewhere along the way, Pony Express and trains, you know. And the passing of information, how things got out there, then telegraph and, you know, these technologies in communicating. I mean, we've always wanted to be social and connect, you know, and those settlers being homesick and just needing some connection to home when like the Associated Press type, the wire service came into play to be able to have all these news groups putting money together so that there would be a correspondent over there reporting on what's going on in Ireland for all of the Irish settlers in the U.S., you know, that community, and Germany. And you get where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating to me to see all of this. And even the political cartoons in that particular Harper's Weekly are mind-blowing. It happens to be the one that, I think it's Prometheus. It's an old print. When I say print, I mean they literally would draw it on metal and it's printed, you know. Or carve it in metal, or I don't know how to explain it.
How it's stamped.
It's stamped into that. And it's about Ulysses S. Grant and his administration and him, these decisions he was making. as well as the Civil War, and the outcomes coming out of that. And it looks so formal, but it was a political cartoon.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It was really, for me, mind blowing, because I remember seeing stuff like that when I was very little. I couldn't read it, but the pictures always fascinated me. So when you showed it to me, I instantly went back to childhood, honestly. And I hadn't seen it. My family was from Marion, Arkansas. And so when we moved to Florida, and so we moved to Florida when I was, really young. It was immediate. Moving from Arkansas to Florida, I never seen it again. Probably seen it in books, but I never touched it and was able to go through articles until you showed it to me in your office a couple of months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So full circle.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up another episode. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. And don't forget to share with your friends, family, or anyone else who just wants to be empowered by the incredible work happening here at Chat State. Thank you for joining us, and remember to stay empowered. Power ED, unleashing the power of education, one Chat State story at a time.